Now look at this here, tzamach, branch, and here we've got it, bud. In other words, it's budding. It starts off very small, it buds, and it turns into a shoot, and then the shoot grows into a branch. That which grew, so it's talking about growing here. And of course, spring is springing up. That's the same principle that's involved here. So this is the word branch, 6780, but notice also that it comes from 6779, and that is the root here. So let's just look at 6779. Here we've got the same samach, a primitive root, to sprout. Here we have bear, bring forth, cause to make, to bud, cause to make, to grow, and cause to spring. So it's basically very similar, but it's this concept of growing up.
Well, I love how you make that so much clearer, Sam, especially letting us see how branch is used in the scriptures and especially in the prophecy. You just showed us how it's talking about Jesus growing up, that shoot budding and sprouting and spreading out. So that clearly is telling us that these prophets are talking about Jesus. So are there any other details about his growing up in the scriptures?
As a matter of fact, Luke does go into quite a bit of detail, although it's very short, concerning Christ's growing up as a young child. And as Katrina explained, Matthew sort of covers the first 4 or 5 years, let's say, of Christ, but Luke goes much further and covers, with just a couple of examples, the rest of that period before his ministry. In other words, from about 5 years old to about 30 years old. And what does it say here? 2:52 in Luke. It says, and Jesus increased in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. Now, once again, we're reading this here in English, but in the Greek, we look at the term stature here, G2244, from the same as 2245. And we can see here it is maturity in years. So this is the budding of the child Jesus and the reaching out and becoming more and more mature as he gets older. The idea here, of course, would be to go ahead and look at the meaning of all these words, but I think that's sufficient to get the idea of what's taking place here with Christ growing up.
Yeah, and then if you look in Luke 2:40, where it says he waxed strong in spirit, filled with wisdom, I'm wondering which word is using up there for wisdom.
Yes.
Just curious.
That's the exact verse that we want to take a look at. The child grew, and that's G837, to grow, to increase, to enlarge, figuratively, etc. So once again, you can study all of these words now that you understand the concept and the principle that's behind this. That could be your personal study here. But as it says here in verse 40, he waxed strong. So check out the meaning of this: in spirit and filled with wisdom, G4678. And the grace of God was upon him. So he's developing into a very interesting young adolescent and then young man.
Uncover the mystery of Adam and Eve's nakedness. Unravel the ambiguous connection between the Hebrew term for naked and the serpent's subtlety. Join us for this free mini-course and gain a profound new perspective on biblical Hebrew. TheExplanation.com/naked